Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Sujakoti
Suryakoti Samaprabha
Nirvignam
Kuru Me
Deva
Deva
Sarvakaryeshu
Sarvakaye
Sarvada
Sarvada
Saraswati Namastubhyam
Saraswati Namaste
Varade
Varadeka
Kamarupini
Varugini
Vidyarambham Karishyami
Karshami
Siddhi
Siddhir
Sada
Bhavatu Me Sada Guru
Brahma
Brahma
Guru
Guru
Vishnu
Vishnu
Guru
Guru
Devo
Devo Maheshwaraha
Guru
Guru
Sakshat
Sakshat Param Brahma
Tasmai
Tasmai
Shri
Shri
Gurave
Gurave Namaha
Om
Om Sahana Vavatu
Sahano
Sahano
Bhunaktu
Tu
Sahavi
Saha Virang
Karava
Karavavahe
Tejasvinava
Tejasvinavati Tamastu Ma
Vishavahe
Vidvishavahe
Om
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Bhagavad Gita's invocatory prayer. There is no invocatory prayer, separate invocatory prayer, really for Bhagavad Gita. The 9 invocatory prayer, Dhyana Shloka, what is generally chanted before the Gita, doesn't belong to Bhagavad Gita. They are written by different authors and found in different texts, but they are chanted as Dhyana Shloka before the study of the Gita. Each Dhyana Shloka offering namaskara to different things. That is to the Grantha, to the Shastram, Gita Shastram itself, one namaskara. For that one Dhyana Shloka, namaskara is offered to Gita, looking upon Gita as a Mata, Amba, because Gita is also like a Shruti. Shruti is Matravata. She is so compassionate and interested in the welfare of her children, human beings. So therefore, Matravata, looking upon Gita as the Mata, a prayer is offered. Ambat e hamba, Bhagavad Gita, Tvam anusandadami iti. And similarly, other Dhyana Shloka are for offering or through which the Namaskara is offered to Vyasacharya, the author, and to the Gita Acharya, Bhagavan Krishna, and to Bhagavan Krishna itself, there are 2 or 3 shlokas. Dhyana shlokas are there. Vasudeva Sutam Devam iti, Mukam Karoti Vachalam iti. There are 2 or 3 Dhyana shlokas. Like that, there are about 9 Dhyana shlokas, invocatory prayer chanted. But in Gita, as such, there is no Prarthana shloka. The very word Dhritarashtra, Uvacha, the word Dhritarashtra, that word itself is a Mangala Shabda. Dhritam Rashtram Yena, by whom the Dhrita, the Rashtram is Dhrita, protected, sustained. By whom the Jagat is sustained? By the Lord. Therefore, the name of the Lord is mentioned in the beginning as Dhritarashtra, which happened to be the name of the father of Duryodhana also. So, the name of the father of Duryodhana, that is Dhritarashtra, that name Dhritarashtra has a meaning, the one who sustains, who protects the Jagat. Who is the Jagat? Who is the protector of Jagat Palagita? Who is Jagat Sthiti Karanam? Ishvaraha eva. Therefore, Dhritarashtra is also another name of Ishvara alone. So the word itself is looked upon as a prayer. That way also we can take. So Dhritarashtra Uvacha, the Dhritarashtra, the word serves two purposes as a Mangala Suchaka Shabda, as a Prarthana Shabda. Second one, it is the name of the father of Duryodhana. And why should we do, or what is the benefit of this Prarthana, etc.? Here the Swamiji is going to say, we will read that. Although the Bhagavad Gita is presented by Vyasa in the middle of the Mahabharata, it is an independent work. Another reason why Bhagavad Gita doesn't have Dhyana Shloka, separate Dhyana Shloka, is because it is located in the Mahabharata. Even though it is located in the Mahabharata, it is looked upon as an independent work, because only for the Gita alone, commentaries are written. Because it is located in Mahabharata, therefore doesn't have separate Dhyana Shloka. Because even though it is located in the Mahabharata, since it is Moksha Shastram, therefore it can be looked upon as independent work. And when it is looked upon as an independent work, the word Dhritarashtra itself can be considered as a prayer. So that way, the word Dhritarashtra itself serves the purpose of prayer. That way also we can take. Here, Swamiji says, although the Bhagavad Gita presented by Vyasa Acharya in the middle of Mahabharata, it is an independent work. Why it is called an independent work? Because on this many commentaries were written, and because it is a Moksha Shastram, Mahabharata is a story. Inside the story, this text, the part which is Bhagavad Gita, the text deals with Jnana Sadhanam as a means for moksha. Therefore, it is looked upon as an independent work. Every work, when it is looked upon as an independent work, independent grantha, every work begins with a prayer in recognition that any successful undertaking involves three important factors: effort, prayatna, time kala, and the unknown factor, deva. So, prayatna, kala, and deva. Prayatna, of course, it is required, but prayatna alone cannot help in successful completion of the text. Prayatna and prarthana. Prarthana also is important, because there may be unseen obstacles or inhibitions. Obstacles may come. In the beginning, it may not be seen, but later it may appear obstacles that may prevent in completing the text. Therefore, prarthana is important. That is, by prarthana, by offering namaskara to Ishvara, you are invoking the factor called Deva Anugraha. Therefore, Devam is the meaning of the word Devam is unknown factor. That factor which is not known, but accounts for the successful completion of any undertaking, whether it is writing the text or taking up a journey, completing the journey, going on a yatra, or the construction of any buildings, etc. There are unknown factors. To make the unknown factors favorable, to make the deva favorable, therefore only prarthana is offered. In the tradition, we say that grantha which doesn't have prayer should not be studied. That Grantha, the author of the Grantha, who doesn't invoke the Lord in the beginning, then that work doesn't deserve to be studied. Therefore, every Grantha must have prayer. Must have prayer either in the beginning or in the middle or at the end. Somewhere the prayer must be there. Sometimes the prayer need not be in the beginning. Sometimes it may be in the middle or maybe at the end. That is also possible. Anyway, the prayer is important to make the Deva factor favorable, unknown factor favorable. In addition to prayatna, effort, we ourselves are capable of providing the effort, and we also can also wait out the time it takes for the result to come. Success or failure, however, is accounted for by the third factor, the unknown factor, Deva. Therefore, we cannot fail to take Deva into account. Not pure prayatna alone will help in achieving the final result. There is an unknown factor called Deva, which should be considered. It should be in favor, then only any undertaking can be successfully completed. All these things our ancestors know. That is why they offer prayer. Even in the Panini Sutra, even in the Sutra literature, sutras are supposed to be very short, supposed to be very, very brief. There we cannot have a separate prayer in the form of the shloka or even the form of a separate word. But Panini Sutra, the word is Vriddhi. First sutra, Vriddhi Radhai. The word Vriddhi serves two purposes. It is a sanya, it is a name. Vriddhi is a name. And also the word Vriddhi stands for Ishvara. Taking the name of the Lord in the beginning, that happens to be the sanya also. So it's serving two purposes. So therefore one word serving two purposes. Therefore that even though it is sutra text, we can say it has got a prayer in the form of a word. And not only the word serves the purpose of prayer, it serves the purpose of the sutra also in the form of a sanya also, a name also. Similarly, Brahma Sutra also, Athato Brahma Jignasa. The word Atha is Mangala Suchakas Shabda. So, therefore, all the acharyas in the tradition, they know that the unknown factor, if it is not considered, then the work may not be successfully accomplished. Therefore, every text in the tradition must have a prayer in the form of a shloka or in the form of a word. When it is in the form of a word for sutra literature, then what to talk about the Grantha like Mahabharata? Definitely it must have a prayer. What is Deva? Deva is there whether you take it into account or not. Deva is there. Unknown factor is there. In spite of all your efforts and waiting, you do not get always what you want. Always the result of our action can be of four types. Any one of the type it comes under. It comes under any one of the four types. What are the four types? For the given effort, you may get the palam, the exact palam, equal palam. Or for the effort exerted, you may get more palam, adhikam palam. That is also possible. Or for the given effort, prayatna, you may have less palam. Your the phalam, the result is less than what you expected. So either the result could be in equal to the effort, or the result may be more than what expected, or it can be less than what expected, or sometimes the result could be quite opposite. Therefore, for the given, for the for the prayatna, for the effort which have been given, which have been put into work, which have been put into doing an action, doing a kriya, the form of this writing the grantha or any undertaking. Effort, any kriya involves, any action involves effort. The result may fall any of the four types. Under what, under or into what type, the result will fall, that we cannot say. What result we will get for the given effort, one cannot say. One doesn't have say over the type of result one will get for the effort one has put into. What makes that? What makes that the result, or what decides the result? That is called Deva. Because it is not under your control, therefore, the unknown factor, the Deva factor, it is there. That is why sometimes we don't get the result what we want. Sometimes we get result more than what we want. Sometimes the result may be opposite, quite opposite. Therefore, unknown factor is there, is working. Therefore, over which we have no control. If we have control, if we have visible control, then we would have taken into account in our effort itself. Since we don't have control, therefore only we offer prarthana, invoking the Lord, the grace of the Lord, for the successful completion or for gaining the expected result. Prarthana is offered. Therefore, Deva is there. Whether you take it to account or not, Deva is there. The unknown factor is there. In spite of all your efforts and waiting, you do not get always what you want. There seems then to be some unknown factor, Deva factor, over which we have no control. Why we say we have no control? Because it is not drishtam, it is called adrishtam. Because the factor is not known, invisible factor, not known. You may call it chance or luck, but we call it Deva. We call it grace. What is this grace? The grace is nothing but karmapala, our own karmapala. Our own karmapala is called Deva, otherwise called grace. If it is favorable, then we call it is grace. If it is not favorable, then we call it is our karma, prarabdha karma. So it's a graceful way of referring to karmapala. To say it is grace is a graceful way of referring to karmapala. Even if the result is not favorable, that also it's a grace. Then that also we call it as grace. So it means we accept the result as it has come. Without murmuring, we accept the result. That is graceful way of accepting the result, even if it is not up to our expectation. If it is more than our expectation, then we accept it gracefully. We thank the Ishvara. So therefore, this karmapala is earned by the individual. Karmapala is earned by individual. It is not by whims and fancies. Grace is distributed among the people. It is earned by the individual. It is something you earn by prayer. It is not an arbitrary decision on the part of the God, on the part of Ishvara. It is not by his whims and fancies. It doesn't have any prejudice. Otherwise, God would be just another autocrat who would goes about distributing packets of grace every morning and missing us more times than not. So therefore, it is grace is earned by the prayer. It has to be earned. Prayer is also a karma. Prayer being a karma, and karma will have karma pala. Therefore, grace anugraha is the palam of the action prayer. Prayer is also an action. Prayer could be in the form of physical action, or it could be manasa, or through mind, or through vachika. So prayer being a karma, it can be kaika or manasa or vachika. Whatever may be, the prayer has got the karma pala in the form of the grace anugraha that has to be earned. We don't consider grace to be the result of our actions because we do not know which action produces the grace. Therefore, we don't know which action produces the grace. Although it is a result of prayer, we have no direct knowledge of whether it is cumulative or the result of one single prayer. That we cannot say because it is Devam, unknown, and the result of a prayer, Adrishtapalam, that is grace, is Adrishtam. Therefore, we cannot say. We have no knowledge of which prayer produces or produced this result. We cannot say whether it is the immediate prayer or the prayer done in the past or some punya which we have accumulated in the past, which are resulted in the form of the favorable result. We cannot say. So all we know is that there is a plus factor as well as a minus factor with reference to the result of our actions. Thus, we find in spite of all our effort, there is something else which makes a difference between the success and failure. That is Deva, the unknown factor. So Deva is a factor which makes a difference between the success and failure. Success is what we label an action if the result is favorable. Failure is also another label that we name an action if the result is not favorable. So for gaining success and failure, effort is involved, of course, no doubt about that. But effort alone, prayatna alone, cannot bring success, or prayatna alone cannot give you failure also. There is some factor, unknown factor, called Deva, otherwise called grace, otherwise it's nothing but our own karma pala, over which we don't have any control. It is not available for our perception. That also has to be taken into account for success and failure. Astrology tries to unfold a pattern in your life that can be projected from your horoscope. Your birth is an event, a visible event that inaugurates your life. An event occurs in a particular place, desha, at a particular time kala, and it is a link in the whole process. If there is a pattern, if there is destiny, then this event is the inaugural event from which the destiny would unfold itself. You don't know what the pattern of destiny is, but you do know that your birth and event took place at a given time. Now, suppose there is another pattern that is projectable. This projectable pattern and the pattern unknown to me are connected. How? When you are born, the constellations and the planets are in a particular configuration because each planet has its own orbit and its own speed. You can find patterns of the horoscope which are projectable to any future time. By observing people's lives, relationships can be seen between the heavenly patterns and the events in a person's life. Occurrences of specific events in the lives of people under certain planetary configurations gives rise to rules of astrological prediction. The planets do not interfere with your life. Your actions in the past and present do according to the Shastra. Astrology is only a predictive discipline. Indian astrology is useful in that it gives you a basis for specific prayers to neutralize the negative karmas in terms of undesirable situations unfolding in this life and to enhance the results of positive karmas in terms of desirable situations. So, Swamiji here incidentally picks up the topic of astrology. Astrology is a predictive discipline that also suggests some prayer in the form of prayer in the form the remedy in the form of prayers, the remedy in the form of prayers, the prayer in the form of either doing yaga, homa, etc., or in the form of chanting some mantras. Why? For neutralize the karma, negative karmas, papa karma. The papa karma produces unpleasant situations in life. Therefore, to neutralize the or to minimize the papa karma and maximize the punya karma to produce more punyam so that the punyam produces favorable situations, desirable situations. Therefore, the discipline astrology suggests specific prayers to neutralize our papa karma. This astrology, Swamiji used to say, astrology, these planets really do not interfere. Planetary system is a model. It's a model on which the astrology, the predictive discipline depends. It's a model. Not that planets dictate the life pattern of a person. It's a model. A model by which the jiva will experience certain result based on his previous karma can be predicted, can be projected. Events like the marriage or education or foreign travel, etc., can be projected based on the planetary positions. So, therefore, it's a predictive discipline. The same discipline also provides assistance in the form of suggesting certain prayers to neutralize papa karma that produces unfavorable situations or pain in life. So therefore only astrologers also, in addition to predicting the future, they also suggest remedy also. For if they say any problem, then for the problem they have to tell the remedy. It is a must for every astrologer. Not only prediction, and that too predicting some bad events. Also, they have to suggest the prayer or the prayaschitta. They have to suggest some prayaschitta, penitentiary action to neutralize that. That is also the duty of the astrologer. So the prediction plus penitentiary action, prayaschitta karma, that can be in the form of performing homa yajna, or in the form of japa, or in the form of going on a pilgrimage to certain temples. What is the purpose? Purpose is to neutralize the papa karma. Our own papa karma produces unpleasant situations in life. In order to neutralize that, certain positive karma have to be added. That also to be suggested. So therefore, point is prayers are important. Prayer produces adrishtapalam, deva, that enhances or that produces the result, success, the result in the form of being in a favorable position. So therefore, to tackle the unknown factor, prayer is important. As I said, prayer can be in the form of kaika, manasa, or vachika. It can be any type. So to tackle the papa karma, to neutralize the papa karma, and to produce positive result, this deva, this the prarthana, the prayers are very helpful and suggested. So therefore only in writing the text and completing the text, this deva factor is important. This unknown factor is important. To make the unknown factor favorable, prarthana is offered. To make the unknown factor deva favorable to oneself, prarthana is offered. Because the factor is not known, therefore prarthana. If the factor is known, then prayatana. That is the difference. To tackle the unknown factor, prarthana. To tackle the known factor, effort. To tackle the known factor, you don't need prayer because it is visible. It is available for your control, your management. There, prayatana. Therefore, prayatana and prarthana. These are the two things like the reverse and obverse of the same coin, decides the output of an action. So therefore, the prarthana is very important. So unknown factor. What we are seeing here is that there is such a thing as deva, a third factor, a factor in which you can neutralize certain results already created either in this life or previously. This is done through prayer. Thus, for any undertaking, the third factor, deva, is invoked. That this is why before beginning the study of any discipline of knowledge, we invoke the Lord through a prayer. The Gita, coming in the middle of the Mahabharata, doesn't have a prayer as such, although Vyasa did invoke the unknown factor in the form of prayer at the beginning of the epic itself. The whole Mahabharata consisting of around 1 lakh shlokas. In the Mahabharata, only in the middle only Bhagavad Gita is Madhye Mahabharatam. So because it is a middle, therefore Gita doesn't have the prayer we saw. But in the beginning of the Mahabharata, there is an invocation. There is an invocation prayer done for the successful completion of the epic Mahabharata. A prayer is offered in the beginning. That prayer itself can be considered as a prayer for the Gita also. That prayer itself, because since Gita is located in the middle, therefore that prayer also can be considered as the prayer for the Gita. So therefore, Gita doesn't require separate prayer. If Gita is looked upon as an independent grantha, then the very word Dhritarashtra, the word itself serves as the prayer. So, why Vyasacharya did not write Dhyana Shloka? Because it doesn't require, because it is located in the middle of the Mahabharata. It is not an independent work, but it is looked upon as an independent work by why? Because there are many commentaries on the Gita, because the Gita presents the teaching of the Shruti, and since there are many commentaries available, therefore, since Gita is studied independently, therefore it is looked upon as an independent work. When it is looked upon as an independent work, then it must have a prayer. Prayer also it is there in the form of the word. The prayer is there. Therefore, because of the importance of the message of the Gita, it is described as a pendant jewel in the midst of Mahabharata. Therefore, there should be a prayer for the Gita also. There should be a prayer for the Gita also. Prayer can be in different forms. It can be mental, it can be in so many words, or it can be suggested by one word. Here we have a suggestive prayer in the narrator's sentence, Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra said, the word Dhritarashtra itself serves as the prayer It's a Mangala Shabda. Mangala Shabda, it is the name of the Lord. So taking the name of the Lord, only Gita begins. So the word Dhritarashtra, as I said, it is the name of the Lord and also happens to be the father of Duryodhana. He says, so that is the prayer that serves as a prayer. So when it is looked upon as an independent work, the word Dhritarashtra is a prayer. The word Dhritarashtra is much more than the name of the blind old man seated in his palace, wanting to know what had happened in the battlefield. So it is just not just the name of the father of Duryodhana. It is Dhrita. Dhrita means Dhrudatu, to hold. Dhrita is sustained. Dhrita Rashtra. Rashtra means the world, Jagat. Dhritam Rashtram Yena. It's a Bhaguvrigi Samasa. Dhritam Rashtram Yena, by whom the world is sustained, is called Dhritarashtra. By whom the world is sustained? By the one who produced this world. Who produced the world? Who is the Jagat Karanam? Who is Jagat Karanam? Ishvaraha. He is Jagat Karanam, Jagat Karanam, Jagat Sthiti, and Layakarta. He is the Srishtikarta, Sthitikarta, Sthiti Karta, and Layakarta. He is a producer of the world, sustainer of the world, and dissolver of the world also. So here, sustainer. The word Vishnu. Vishnu also, Vishnu, when it is looked upon as the personal God, is the sustainer of the world. So Vishnu, the name of the Lord, meaning the sustainer of the world. Dhritarashtra also means the same. So the same Bhagwan Vishnu alone in the form of Krishna has come. So it's all the name of the Lord only, Ishvara only. So not literally taking the person, the blind man, not taking the person, that the father of Duryodhana, here taking the word to be the name of the Lord, it serves as a prayer. Dhritarashtra means the one by whom the world is sustained. Dhritam Rashtramena. And who is that? The Lord. The entire world is sustained by Ishvara. So by beginning the Gita with the words Dhritarashtra Vacha, two purposes are served. The Lord is invoked by the word Dhritarashtra, which is a kind of prayer. Therefore, prayer can be in the form of a word also. It can be in the form of a word, it can be in the form of a shloka. So here it is in the form of just a word. And the Uvacha indicates the narration of the Gita was about to be begun. The Gita opens with the blind king Dhritarashtra sitting in his palace with his companion Sanjaya. Sanjaya is the Sarathi, his charioteer, a minister who was blessed by Vyasa with an extraordinary audio-visual capacity. We saw this before. When Vyasacharya asked Dhritarashtra whether he would like to have that faculty, that capacity, sitting in his palace, he can see from a distance, he can see what is happening in a far up place distance. He said he doesn't want that. Instead, he asked him as Vyasacharya to give that faculty to his charioteer Sanjaya. So therefore, Dhritarashtra, he will ask Sanjaya on what was happening in the battlefield. So Sanjaya could hear and could see what was happening far away. He had a mind like a radio that could pick up sounds from a distance. Not only sound, he could see. So audio-visual capacity. He could also see situations and events beyond the frontiers of the human eyesight. Knowing that Sanjaya had these psychic powers, the blind Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya what happened on the battlefield between my sons and the Pandavas. This is the first shloka. We will see it is going to come. So, Dhritarashtra Uvacha Mamakaha Pandavaha cha Kim Akurvata. What happened? What were they doing? Who? My sons and the Pandavas, A Sanjaya. With this extensive introduction, we will now begin the Gita verses. Yes, the introduction is very extensive. Having given the background, the context, and before that, giving introduction to Vedanta, presenting the Purushartha. Among the four Purushartha, the Purushartha is moksha. All these things were elaborately discussed. That's why extensive introduction and the context and the background of the Gita also discussed. With this, the Gita is going to be started. Chapter 1 and the first 10 verses of chapter 2 are actually a continuation of the Mahabharata and thereby provide the context in which the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna took place. So, the teaching of the Gita starts only from the 11th shloka of the second chapter. Bhashyakara Shankaracharya written commentary only from the 11th shloka of the second chapter. There are no commentary for the first chapter and for the first 10 shlokas of the second chapter, because they are considered to be the continuation, the part of the Mahabharata. They provide the context. That is why we discuss the context in detail, in which the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna took place. In fact, it was only Arjuna who was talking, lamenting. In fact, more than talking, he was lamenting. Only in the beginning of the second chapter, Krishna said few words. The teaching begins only after Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. All these things after only the Gita starts. That is in the 11th shloka. Although we are only interested in Krishna's teaching, which doesn't begin until the 11th verse of chapter 2, it is important to understand the condition of Arjuna's mind that led him to ask Krishna to teach him. Therefore, these contextual verses will be analyzed in some detail. So even though the teaching begins from the 11th shloka of the chapter, second chapter, but the context which made the context behind the teaching, the context behind the teaching to come from the mouth of Lord Krishna to be known. That is the state of Arjuna's mind. Arjuna asked for the teaching. Therefore, the condition of the Arjuna's mind have to be known. That the first chapter and the second chapter, 10 shlokas, provides that. So the context in which the Gita teaching took place. Because the one is the situation is there. Situation being there, the person Arjuna asked for the solution. So what was the situation? What was the context? What was the context? And why did Arjuna ask for the teaching? Did really Arjuna ask for the teaching, or did he ask for some other solution? So all these things we need to know. Then for Arjuna, why did Bhagwan chose to teach Gita? If Arjuna had not asked, Krishna would not have taught. If Arjuna had asked for some other solution, Krishna would have taught something, not Gita. Therefore, there was a context. Therefore, the context is here the mind of Arjuna. The mind of Arjuna, the thinking of the Arjuna provides a context that is presented in the first chapter. Therefore, in first chapter, you will see Arjuna lamenting. Otherwise, it is called despondency of Arjuna. Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna overpowered by sorrow, not knowing what to do, doesn't want to fight. So that is the context. That time Krishna, he whips him by calling him Klibaha. He uses very strong words. The strong words will invoke the Kshatriya, the Arjuna, to action. So he uses that word, but that word also did not work. Finally, when Arjuna surrendered, not knowing what to do, therefore, the context is helplessness, the helplessness of Arjuna and seeking solution for the problem. So helplessness, discovering one's helplessness and asking for the solution, these two things are important. discovering helplessness. One's helplessness is one thing. Having discovered that, asking for the solution, seeking help, this second thing. Discovering helplessness and seeking help. These two things Arjuna he did. What was the context for that? That is presented in the first chapter and in the second chapter. First chapter provides, or first chapter presents the context in which Arjuna found himself helpless, and in the second chapter, in the first 10 shlokas, Arjuna asked, being intelligent, he asked help from Bhagwan Krishna. So this is the context. This is the context. So this is a context which led to the birth of the teaching of the Gita from the mouth of the Lord Krishna. Therefore, this context also important. So with this background, now we will enter into the context which led to the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, starting from chapter 1. Chapter 1, Pratamodhyayaha, it is named Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Named after the Vishada. Vishada means dukkha, shoka. Shoka of Arjuna. Arjuna was despondent. So therefore, this chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Yoga meaning title, the context. Yoga, the word meaning title. The title of the first chapter is Arjuna Vishada Yoga, translated as despondency or sorrow of Arjuna, Arjuna's sorrow. So first shloka and the first word of the first shloka, Mangala Shabda. So with the prayer Dhritarashtra, we will start. Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Please chant.
Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre
Samaveta Yuyutsavaha
Samaveta Yuyotsavaha
Amakav Pandavaschaiva
Mamakaः Pandavaschaiva
Imakurvata Sanjaya
Imakurvata Sanjaya.
Pandavaschaiva. There is a typo. In transliteration, it is correct. Pandavaschaiva. Hey Sanjaya. Sanjaya is Sambodhana. So Dhritarashtraha Uvacha. Uvacha is remote past. Uvacha. He said. Who said? Dhritarashtraha Uvacha. Dhritarashtra, the father or the king of the Astinapura, the Dhritarashtra, the blind king, the father of Kauravas. Now he is ruling the kingdom Astinapura, sitting in his palace, with whom Sanjaya was there. So he told Sanjaya, hey Sanjaya, Kim Akurvata, lang lakara, past tense. What were doing? Who? Mamakaha, Pandavaha, cha eva. Mamakaha, my people. That is, my people is Duryodhanadayaha, my sons and his army. All my sons, my son Duryodhana and his brothers, all the people, and my army, his allies, whoever have joined the sides of Duryodhana. They are Mamakaha. So Mamakaha, Kauravaha, Pandavaha, sons of Pandu. What were they doing? Where? In the Kurukshetra, the place called Kurukshetra, where the battle is about to be begun. And it is Dharmakshetra, the place of Dharma. So Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samavetaha Samyak Avetaha assembled Yuyutsavaha Yodham Ichavaha, the ones who were desirous of fighting, desirous to fight, desiring to fight. Samavetaha assembled my people, Kauravas and sons of Pandu, what were they doing? So Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, what indeed did my people and the Pandavas do? Assembled at Kurukshetra, the abode of Dharma, desiring to fight. So here, Samavetaha, Yuyutsavaha, Mamakaha, Pandavaha, all are Pratama Vibhakti. Samaveta Shabda, like Rama Shabda. Yuyutsava, Yuyutsava is Yuyutsu. Yuyutsu is Ukaranda Shabda, Guru Shabda. Yuyutsuhu, Yuyutsu, Yuyutsavaha, Guru Shabda. Yuyutsu is the Pratipadikam. Mamaka and Mamakaha Bhagavachanam, Pandavaha, Akaranda, Pandava Shabda. So all these are Pratama Vibhakti, therefore adjective. Samavetaha Yuyutsavaha, Mamakaha, Pandavaha, Cha, Eva, Cha plus Eva, Chaiva, Vriddhi Sandhi. Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Kim Akurvata. So you have to do the Sandhi Vicheda wherever Sandhi has happened, split that, find out the Vibhakti, arrange the words in the form of a sentence that is called Anvaya. So Padacheda to be done, and after Padacheda, what are the Vibhaktis of the Pada that has to be fixed, then put it in the form of a sentence that is called Anvaya. So sentence here it is not there, but we can say, He Sanjaya, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre, Samavetaha Yutsavaha, Mamakaha, Pandavaha, Cha, Kim Akurvata. So like that we can do. Then, in the Indian tradition, any beginning begins with a prayer. Being in the middle of the Mahabharata, the Gita doesn't require a beginning prayer of its own. Still, for this chain of 18 chapters, for this pendant jewel placed against the background of the much larger topic, it seems that a prayer should be there. And it is implied in the first verse. We saw the word Dhritarashtra. A prayer can be either expressed or implied. The first word of the Gita, Dhritarashtra, is a prayer by implication. It means the one who sustains a kingdom or the whole universe. Yena drishtam rashtra. Rashtra means a desha, a king, a kingdom, a place, a country, or it can mean the whole Jagat universe. Therefore, it is therefore an appropriate name for a king. Had Dhritarashtra not been blind, he would have been the ruler of the kingdom. Because he was blind, a king must be free from defects of the body. He is Angahina, he is blind, therefore he did not become the king. That is why his brother Pandu became the king. Rashtra also refers to the world, the entire universe. The Lord is the one who is the holder, the sustainer of the order that is the world. Therefore, Dhritarashtra is also the name of the Lord. By beginning the Gita with the name of the Lord, the traditional opening prayer is implied. So in the tradition, they ask, prayer is there or not? Prayer should be there. If prayer is not there, then it is not studied, I told. So, because the name Dhritarashtra serves the purpose of prayer, therefore, prayer, therefore, since it is a prayer, therefore it is, in the tradition, the study of the text is well accepted. There will not be any objection in the study of the text, because the tradition requires the text to be opened, to be written with a prayer, and the prayer is implied in the very word Dhritarashtra. The opening scene of the Gita takes place in the palace of Astinapura, the capital of the kingdom of Kauravas. This was a kingdom that Pandavas were supposed to rule, but which was now ruled by their cousin Duryodhana, who had usurped the kingdom. As we have seen, the Pandavas were tricked into exile by Duryodhana. They had to spend 12 long years in the forest plus 1 year living incognito, Ajnatavasa, somewhere in the empire. The kingdom was to be returned to them after they had fulfill these conditions. The Pandavas served this term of 13 years, 12 plus 1, 12 years in the forest and 1 year incognito, came back to claim their kingdom. However, Duryodhana would not give it back to them, and therefore war was declared. Not that war was immediately declared. Krishna was sent as a diplomat to have a peace talk, but did not work. Therefore, war was declared. They could choose to either go back to the forest or take the kingdom back in battle. This is what Duryodhana said to Krishna. Therefore, war was inevitable. All possible compromises were put forward, but Duryodhana would not give even one needle point of land to the Pandavas. It had therefore become a problem of justice, dharma. Therefore, only this war is called dharma yuddha. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna had to fight this dharma yuddha. Being a Kshatriya and has to establish dharma, that is his responsibility, because dharma was put to test, dharma was in question. There was a problem of justice because Duryodhana usurped, not only usurped, and he said, he will meet them in battle. So therefore, to establish dharma, the war was inevitable. Therefore, it is called dharma yuddha. Dharma kshetre, the place where dharma resides, which place Kurukshetra. In the place Kurukshetra, which is otherwise called Dharma Kshetra, there Dharma Yuddha going to be started or started. With this, we'll stop here. And then second shloka, I think, comes after 2 pages. We'll see. So the problem of injustice, problem of justice. For dharma, we'll see that. The next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate
Samudachyate
Asya
Purnasya
Namadaya
Adaya
Nameva Vashishyate
Shishyate
Om Shanti
Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om Dhanyavadaha.